The things that are growing here are blowing my mind.
Come on, chickens.
Hi guys, Amanda from Whitewood Acres, and thanks for joining me today. It's mid-August. We're in southeastern Ontario, growing zone 5B or 6. I'm right on the cusp. The garden's looking amazing right now, and I thought I'd invite you guys in to take a look at what we have going on in there right now. So before we go in, I should just give you a quick rundown on this garden. This is my hugelkultur garden. I won't go into too much detail about what a hugelkultur is. It's basically a garden that's built on a mound of brush and logs and wood and carbonaceous material, and then we've lasagnaed on top of that some straw to kind of have a tooth for your soil to hang on to, and then compost and plants. So I'm going to be doing an in-depth video on how to build a hugelkultur and how I made mine, but that's for another day. This hugelkultur did just get a nice little facelift and a brand new fence here, so we are all completely rabbit proof now. Gave it a nice coat of white paint just to crisp it up because I really like the neatness of the white. And my only complaint about that is you can really see all the bird poop. Because the birds like to hang out on my arch and sit here and poop. So this is my only complaint, but that's not so bad. We just poured a new concrete step here because this garden is a little bit on an angle, and we've just had such a tough time keeping patio pavers and everything level here because the chickens like to come and dig out from under it. So now we've got everything critter proof and solid. It should last us for years to come. Now I can actually exhale and just focus on my gardening, where I was always putting row covers and deterrents for animals that were eating my things. I was actually avoiding planting certain crops because I knew that the rabbits were going to eat them. So now I have everything that I want growing in here. It's actually becoming the garden of my dreams. We added a little detail. We pressed some of our leaves into the cement here just to make it a little more personal. And just take a look at how small this leaf is right here. This is a loofah leaf. Now, just pan up here. The loofahs are now taken off, and look at the difference in the size of those leaves to the one that was pressed into the concrete. And that was my largest leaf that I had at the time. But that would be about a month and a half ago, I guess, when we poured that. So the loofahs are growing great. This is what we grow on this arch here, and pretty soon I should have some nice shade cover. See lots of tiny loofahs coming up here. It looks like most of them have been pollinated, so we should have a very good crop this year. And Rick and I use loofahs for our household cleaning needs. These are our sponges. We do not buy sponges anymore. We use our natural compostable sponges. I'm really proud of that. We've been growing them for 4 years now, and we haven't bought a sponge since. Here we are nearing the end of August, and we've had no rain the entire summer, so that's really brought its own set of challenges. This garden is very far from my house. It's actually about 400 feet away from any kind of hose, so I've had to bring water out here, run electricity with hundreds of feet of extension cords, and pump water onto this garden. Now normally I don't have to do that because this is a hugelkultur. It retains a lot of moisture after a few good rains, and it takes care of itself. So I usually only water out here for the first couple weeks while the seedlings are getting established. And unfortunately, I have had to water every single day out here, and you cannot skip a day. It's been so hot. We've been in a heat wave the entire summer and no rain. So it's been pretty ugly conditions for gardeners. But I'll tell you what has been really enjoying this hot weather are the peppers, and they're looking amazing right now. I have 2 separate pepper patches. I'm only growing 3 types of peppers. I'm growing poblanos, which are a large green type pepper. We make a really good enchilada sauce with spinach, and that's why I grow those peppers specifically for that recipe. So I have about 6 poblano peppers in here. I also have cherry bomb peppers. I've seen them also called time bomb. They're a small red medium heat pepper. Now we also grow these for one specific reason, and it is to stuff them with a mix of feta and cream cheese and pack them in oil. It's one of our favorite snacks. And I find these peppers really hard to find. They're hard to find in the seed catalogs and impossible to find at the nursery. So I save my own seeds. Well, I do for most anything. And we get these gorgeous little peppers. And I think I saw a couple of them ready. Just as I was sitting here talking, I caught a glimpse of some red down here. So maybe I could give you an example. Here's a nice one. That's a little cherry bomb pepper. So they're pretty small, and they're perfect to stuff with cheese and just get your one bite snack. I have to mention these little sunflowers that I planted this year. They're really only supposed to get about 2 feet tall, and they're called teddy bear. I just think they're the most beautiful backdrop to the green peppers that don't really have any other colors to them. It just really gives them a nice pop. But look at these little fuzzy wuzzy sunflowers. I'll be definitely collecting some seeds from those this year because it's the first year I've ever grown them, and I put them on either side, so it's kind of the first thing you see when you're coming to the garden, and I just think they're so gorgeous, and it might be my new obsession. We've got a second little pepper patch here. No, nothing too exciting going on there, just bell peppers. I think they're called California Wonder, and they are an orange bell pepper. We've grown those before. They're nice. We have a little row of zinnias here. You know what's fun about these zinnias? We actually started these using the snail method. I just thought it would be a fun thing to do with my 9-year-old son. We took a little piece of packing foam, a strip of it, put soil on it, sprinkled our seeds, and then rolled it up like a snail shell and put an elastic around it. And everything sprouted, and we just pricked out the seedlings and put them in, and they're starting to get little heads on them. In the center, I just have a little flower garden here. Got some cannas. Boy, you can really see the difference this year of the size of the cannas. Everything I notice in this garden is quite a bit stunted compared to last year, where it rained every week, sometimes multiple times in the week, and everything was so luscious. And my cannas were like 9 feet tall. They were incredible. So it's funny that they are like, what a difference it makes when you're not getting regular rain. They're still beautiful, but they're really, really small. I grew some sweet potatoes here for the first time this year. Now this is another one that the rabbits really enjoyed. So because I was so inexperienced with them, I put these in not knowing that the rabbits would come and eat the tops off of them, which is exactly what happened because I didn't have my fences finished yet. But they seem to have come back pretty well, and they're really starting to sprawl now. They're starting to go over the little walkways, and I'm hoping that there's going to be some sweet potatoes in there. I really don't know what to expect, but by the look of the vines, I feel like there might be something worth digging up in there. So we'll find out what's going on with that probably in another 4 weeks-ish, something like that. I do have 2 empty areas right here. Now this is where we grew our garlic this year. I don't normally grow my garlic in the garden. I usually have a patch that's up near the Quonset, but I wanted to scale down a little bit the size of my garlic patch because I just didn't have the time to put into all of the braiding, and I wasn't putting out my stand this year to be selling it either. So I wanted to kind of concentrate on growing my stock really, really big so we could start off another crop this year with like really large garlic seeds. And they did not disappoint. We got some massive 3 to 3.5 inch bulbs this year. I was shocked myself to see what we pulled out, and very proud of it. So we're going to start off with strong, big stock this year, and hopefully next year we can grow our garlic even bigger. It's kind of a little bit of a challenge I've set for myself. We really had a lot going on this year with building the fences on this garden and the home garden, and then also trying to plan to build a mini barn. I just decided to scale back a few things. Now next year will be a different situation because we do have all of this infrastructure in place. I can just go ahead and plant all the things that I want to. But this year I just didn't have the time to tend to all the seedlings. And so we did 2 rows of tomatoes instead of our usual 6. And I think we're still going to get a really hefty yield. We've got 3 different types in here: Roma tomatoes for our sauces and paste. We have some slicers called mortgage lifters, and we've got another mystery tomato. I don't know what it's called. It's something I got from the farmer's market, and it was red and kind of like scalloped. And it was a large slicer as well with a honeycomb center. And so I saved some seeds from that, and they are growing right now as well. And they actually, can I get a shot of this? Because they're really funny looking. They kind of have like this pear shape to them, but they're also roughly, like they're so interesting. And then they've got this really interesting pattern that's kind of showing through. Now the one we got from the farmer's market, I don't remember it being teardrop like that. I think that would have stuck out in my mind. So I don't know if we just got a funny one that day and this is the way they're supposed to be, or if they've somehow mutated a little bit and this is the way they are. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens when they ripen up. We haven't had any start to blush yet, but that shouldn't be too much longer. We had a little attack here with the tomato hornworm, so I've got a bit of damage on some of these. The tomatoes are bouncing back okay. So just here in front of me is a purple loosestrife, and I think this is considered an invasive species, but this is growing on its own. We have lots of it that grows in the field and stuff. This one just popped up here on its own, and I've kind of just let it be and moved the pathway around it because it attracts a ton of bees. This little bush is buzzing all day long with bees, and I always want to feed the pollinators. That's why I mix flowers in with my vegetable garden, because you want to attract those guys and keep them hanging around. And I even got hummingbirds out here because of the extra flowers. But yeah, this is something that just popped up on its own. I do give it a little bit of love. I cultivate it. I give it some water and trim it from time to time. And I like to cut these off for cutting flowers as well. But I just kind of like a happy volunteer, and I really enjoy having it here. It's been here for like 4 years now. And right beside it, these should be really complimentary when everything starts to come up. These are some beans. This is the second succession of beans. This was our potato patch. So my son and I just harvested all the potatoes, and I had a succession of beans already started in cells sitting on my deck that were ready to go in. So as soon as the potatoes came out, we top dress this with compost and put the beans right in, and they are looking great, and I even see some blossoms on them. These are a really cool bean. I think they're called royal burgundy. They're a bush bean, and they are purple. Now when you cook them, you throw them into the boiling water, and as soon as they're perfectly cooked, they turn from purple to green. I love these beans. Everyone's always so fascinated with them. So as soon as they turn green, you pull them out of the water and they're like perfectly al dente. You don't even have to guess when they're ready. So it's a fun bean to eat, and they taste like a regular green bean. They can well, they freeze dry well, and they're amazing fresh. But as a happy accident, here is a volunteer sunflower that's come up. Now the first head is starting to, it's pretty much done here, but there's a whole bunch of new ones coming up. And this is like a burgundy sunflower. It's so beautiful. The colors here just happen to be really complementary to each other. I love it when the accidental volunteers are so visually pleasing. This was our second garlic patch, the garlic was all harvested in July, and we've got these two volunteer sunflowers, and one of them is, I can't even guess how tall that is, probably 10 feet. I don't know what variety they are. I'm going to guess that this is another red one just by the color of the stem and the leaves. But look at, these are going to have sunflowers on every single one of these branches all the way up. I cannot wait to see. This one is just starting to bloom here at the top. And it's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be such a pretty show. It's in an awkward place, but I don't mind the volunteers one bit. They make me happy. So this is a little bit more of the leisure end of the garden, let's say. We've been kind of working towards making it into a little bit of a relaxing hang for us. So we've got a little deck we've stuck out here in the corner. I haven't done much with it yet, but I'm planning on putting some sort of a canopy and little like bistro set or something there eventually when I find just the right one. I do have a pathway here that kind of leads to just a little a little bit of visual interest. I made this obelisk a couple of years ago, and I made it and it never really had a home, so we ended up just putting it in the shed and storing it. And this year I finally decided it's going at the end of the garden, and I think that's going to be its new permanent home, and maybe next year we'll grow something on it as well. These snapdragons are one of my favorite features of the garden, and this is something that I do every single year. Now you can really tell the difference between this year and previous years with the lack of rain. They're usually quite a bit taller and very, very prolific with the blooms. This year, I mean, although they are absolutely stunning, they're really, really lacking a lot of the splendor that they usually bring to the visual aspect of the garden. I'll put up some pictures from a year or two ago and you can kind of see the difference. But I mean, honestly, I can't complain. Just look how gorgeous the colors are. And I've been saving these seeds for years as well. And it's kind of fun. You never know what you're going to get. Because I just mix them all up. So last year I had a lot of yellows and whites and reds for some reason. And this year everything seems to be on like the pink tones. This is a 40 by 25 foot space, and I kind of ended up expanding the last bit in the last couple years. Soil's a lot thinner here because this is the new portion of the garden, so you can actually see some of the base of the hugelkultur starting to come through the soil. Now I've been working on this and adding soil to it as fast as I can make compost. I haven't grown much back here typically in other years just because the soil isn't as great. It's a little heavier with the carbon. Now this year I decided I was going to put a few different things in here and see how they went. And so far everything is flourishing and really thriving back here, much to my surprise. Now this is the crop that surprised me the most. I planted them here because before we overhauled the fences, I actually had another arch right here. And so I planted these. They're butternut squash, and my plan was for them to go over the arch. Then we ended up removing the arch, and in haste, I needed to get some sort of a trellis system for them, even though I wasn't really sure that they were even going to grow here, because like I said, this area doesn't have the best soil. It grows horseradish like nobody's business and weeds like crazy. But I honestly didn't think anything else was going to grow back here. But these butternut squashes are sprawling and taking over this whole area. Now we were at Home Depot one day buying something not for the garden, and I happened to see these panels here that they're for pouring concrete floors. I don't know what they're called, but they're almost exactly like the cattle panels that we buy for the arches and for things like this at Farm Supply for $75. I found this at Home Depot for $22. So pro tip, if you want to make trellises out of these things, go to Home Depot, not your Farm Supply, because I'm going to get more of them, and I actually experimented putting them on the tomatoes this year. And I think that might be my new trellising system for tomatoes from now on as well. These squash, look at them. I'm so impressed. Here's one. A couple of these I actually hand pollinated, and I believe this is one of them. There's another. There's bunches. They're all hidden under there. Here's another little guy. So we've got a lot going on in this little section. I have a whole row which are completely invisible because they're being covered up of Romano beans here. I like to grow some sort of a storage bean, whether it be black beans or Romano beans, so we can dry them and keep them in the pantry over the winter. Another reason why I put beans in here specifically is because beans and legumes are nitrogen fixers. So like I was saying, this whole area here has a lot of carbon material, and we need to add more nitrogen to the soil if we want to grow good things here. So I've grown Romano beans here, even though it's really pathetic for the last 3 years to try and add some nitrogen to the soil. And I would say I think I've been successful, because the things that are growing here are blowing my mind. They were seeds that were in the compost, or if somebody, I just realized the pig. Blackberry. Blackberry. Are you having a good day? Oh, you naughty boy. Guess who's not getting lunch today? What'd you do? Go out the door, you stinker. You stink. You having a party? You just having a party. Hmm? My piglet's been over here grazing around and I just noticed he was missing. He's over in the chicken coop helping himself to some chicken feed. What a pig. Okay, so like I was saying, I've had some really happy volunteers over here as well, and I just kind of let them grow because I wasn't really planning on planting this area. But I've had all of these cucurbits kind of come up, and I wasn't sure what any of them are, but now I'm starting to see what the actual fruits are. And I have 2 pumpkin vines here that completely came up on their own and are starting to grow these beautiful, what are going to be white pumpkins. There's a really big one back there. Like, I can't even get back there without stepping over. And like, these things have not been getting watered the entire year, and they grew themselves. I see there's another baby pumpkin coming up here. There's 1, 2, 3. This one here is a delicata squash. I just thought, yes, here's one here, which are delicious. They are a sweet squash, a lot like butternut, and there's several of them on here, and we all love them, including the pig. I always have a few extra for treats for him. But I mean, this is just the biggest surprise, this whole area right here. And if you turn over here and look, now these are wild growing here. This is a horseradish plant. That's another one over there. And I've actually cut out several of them out of my pathways and stuff. But this, in the fall, Rick and I are going to dig this up and make a bunch of prepared horseradish, which I have another video about if you're interested in learning how to make fresh horseradish into canned horseradish. Anyways, these are fabulous, and they're so prolific. They just love this weather, I guess. You know what doesn't love the weather? My popcorn. In fact, I don't mind pulling off an ear to show you guys what it looks like. And we've grown this before, and these are seeds that I have saved. And this is a pink popcorn. It's very pretty. As you can see here, this didn't grow very well. I can see there's some sort of little worm in here as well. No thank you. Anyways, fortunately we have lots of this saved from previous years, because corn should not be this small even, even if it's popcorn. So when these kernels dry and they are popping corn, they stay pink like this. They're so beautiful, and they pop into the whitest popping corn you've ever seen. There's zero yellow to it. It's just fluffy white like clouds. A little bit smaller, the puff, but delicious popcorn. So it's another thing that we try not to buy, and we try and produce for ourselves. I don't think we're getting much out of this year, but them's the breaks when you're in a drought, right? I hope you enjoyed this mid-season garden tour. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Blackberry, the piggy pig has prickly hair and isn't that big. He is super cute and funny to boot, has a kissable snoot and loves his fruit. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.